Welcome to Pharaoh's Code, where the secrets of ancient history come to life. From the secrets of Egypt's forgotten dynasties to marvels carved in stone, we uncover the hidden secrets of our past, one discovery at a time. Subscribe and enter a world where time speaks. The greatest mystery in Egypt: massive granite boxes that humans couldn't have built. Perfect 90-degree angles and massive 100-ton granite boxes. It's mind-blowing. The Serapeum boxes are among the most astonishing mysteries in the world. Every aspect of these 24 granite boxes is strange and puzzling, filled with anomalies.
Discovered in 1850 by French Egyptologist Auguste Mariette inside a massive underground tomb with narrow tunnels in Saqqara, the Serapeum boxes have captured the attention of modern historians. They are believed to be coffins or sarcophagi for the sacred Apis bulls.
But their precision, perfect angles, mammoth weight, and placement underground continue to baffle archaeologists, engineers, and historians. Even today's most advanced technology, including diamond-tipped drills, would struggle with the enormous task of replicating them. The mathematical genius behind the Serapeum boxes raises serious questions. How did the ancient Egyptian civilization, armed only with copper tools and chisels, manage to manipulate and shape solid granite with such accuracy? How were these 24 giant boxes, each weighing between 70 and 100 tons, not only transported to the site, but also perfectly centered and set into carved recesses? Mainstream archaeologists suggest that the Serapeum of Saqqara was an ancient Egyptian burial site for the sacred Apis bulls, believed to be incarnations of the god Ptah. But why would the Egyptians invest such enormous manual effort and precise craftsmanship to bury dead bulls, even if they were considered divine? It seems like an extreme measure. Carved from massive blocks of granite, the Serapeum boxes are located in underground tunnels stretching for miles. The boxes exhibit remarkably perfect 90-degree angles, and the ancient craftsmen managed to ensure precise internal geometry even inside boxes over 11 feet deep. The mathematics involved in building these boxes is nothing short of extraordinary. According to modern in-depth calculations, the margin of error in dimensions is just a few thousandths of an inch, a level of precision nearly impossible to replicate today. So how did the ancient Egyptians, equipped only with tools made of iron, bronze, and copper, achieve this level of perfection? And what is the true historical significance of the Serapeum of Saqqara? Mainstream theories from archaeologists are filled with gaps the size of the Great Pyramids. Egyptologists date ancient structures based on carvings or inscriptions. Therefore, the official dating of the Serapeum boxes is based on crude scratches and amateur carvings found on some of the boxes. Egyptologists have dated these carvings, and thus the boxes, to around 3000 BCE. However, the hieroglyphics on the selected Serapeum boxes are primitive and lack the original mirror-like finish found on the boxes. In fact, according to scientists and archaeologists, the type of granite used in some of the Serapeum boxes isn't even found in the quarries near Saqqara. Most of the granite blocks used came from quarries in Egypt's eastern desert, a region without river access to Saqqara. The journey spans roughly 800 kilometers of mountainous terrain and obstacles. Now imagine transporting a single granite block of that size through the region without technology, without machines, dragging each one on wooden sleds. Does that sound possible? And not all the boxes were made from this specific eastern desert granite. Some were built from granite found in the quarries of Aswan, around 500 miles away from Saqqara. While Saqqara and Aswan are connected by the Nile River, imagine placing a single one of these massive blocks, weighing up to 200 tons in raw form, onto a boat in 3000 BCE. Each completed box is estimated to weigh between 70 and 100 tons. Experts believe that just one raw granite block required to make a single sarcophagus would weigh over 200 tons. Egyptologists paint a picture of giant stones being placed on sleds and pulled across sand-covered terrain using manpower alone. But when you consider the enormous weight and scale of these boxes, all these explanations fall apart. To add to the mystery, there is one abandoned box sitting in the middle of a tunnel, with no wooden sled beneath it and no evidence of machinery ever used. Hundreds of men working in perfect harmony could barely produce enough combined force to move this box, yet this army of workers wouldn't even fit inside the tunnels. Take a closer look at this box. as it sheds light on many aspects of the construction process. First, the tunnel is only 2 feet wider than the stone itself, leaving no space for the hundreds of people needed to push the massive weight of the stone. Second, the box is unfinished, which means the workers didn't complete its construction above ground. Instead, they chose to move it into these narrow tunnels to be carved, finished, and polished underground. Finally, this box shows that for some catastrophic reason the project was suddenly aborted.
Some boxes are missing their lids, and the lid of one box lies abandoned in the entrance tunnel. Clearly, the project was abandoned at various stages of completion. Now just imagine the working conditions: narrow tunnels with some cavities having less than 1 foot of clearance, manipulating solid granite with cutters and chisels, creating enormous amounts of dust in a dark underground space with almost no ventilation, and clouds of dust swirling around. And yet, the ancient Egyptians achieved the astonishing precision of the Serapeum boxes.
How do we work with similar granite today? Explosives are used to extract granite slabs, which are then lifted from steep quarries using heavy machinery and cut with massive stainless steel tools powered by hydraulic pressure. Even in today's age of advanced technology, people often avoid working with such giant granite blocks due to the difficulty. It's simply an extremely demanding task.
Mainstream theories suggest that the ancient Egyptians skillfully used hand tools. However, even today, cutting and drilling a box like this would be an enormous challenge.
If experts were to replicate these boxes today, it would require massive amounts of manpower and machinery. Armed with the latest modern technologies, mechanical drills and sculpting tools, the process would start by extracting a giant granite block from quarries in eastern Egypt and transporting it to Saqqara. Then, mechanical drills would hollow out the interior, while precision tools ensured geometric accuracy. The lids would be cut from the same granite block, the surfaces polished, and everything transported underground. Achieving such a feat thousands of years ago, solely through manual labor, is mind-blowing.
According to modern engineers, working with such a massive granite block would be so difficult that today's experts would instead recreate the box using 6 separate granite slabs assembled together into a single unit. But even a single glance at these boxes reveals a basic truth: their creation must have involved more than just human hands and muscles. Hollowing out these gigantic blocks would have required not just immense manual labor, but also advanced stone-cutting techniques, which remain challenging even today.
The consistent thickness of the box walls is equally baffling and demands rational explanations that archaeologists and historians have failed to provide. As if the smooth exteriors of the Serapeum boxes weren't mysterious enough, the interiors are even more impressive. Polished to a glass-like finish, they still shine with a reflective gloss despite no modern restoration. These boxes continue to fascinate and baffle the world.
According to some researchers, the stonemasons of that time were not using abrasion techniques. Instead, a chemical solution may have been used to achieve that mirror-like shine. Some solidified residue droplets found at the base of certain box lids suggest the use of a long-lost chemical formula. Today, although the boxes show clear signs of damage, with some lids destroyed by ancient invaders, the interiors remain a testament to the ancient perfection achieved in the Serapeum. The inside was not neglected. On the contrary, the precision and polish inside the boxes reflect extraordinary attention to detail. But once again, all this effort, just to bury mummified bulls?
As we reflect on the astonishing physical characteristics and the incredible effort that went into finishing these boxes, we're drawn back to the engineering, the lack of cracks in the stone, the incredible precision. Attempts to grind down the granite interiors using stone pounding tools simply don't work. The force would crack the blocks. At the same time, the alternative theory of chisels scraping away vast amounts of granite would take forever.
If we take mainstream archaeological theories at face value, we're asked to believe that an ancient civilization with no machines and no technology managed to extract massive granite blocks from quarries in eastern Egypt, raise 200-ton blocks out of deep pits in Aswan, transport unfinished blocks hundreds of miles to Saqqara, and carve them into perfectly engineered boxes. All of this just to bury mummified Apis bulls?
And why were these enormous sarcophagi for bulls designed with such extra internal space? Far beyond what was needed for a mummified animal. More comfort for the dead? The sarcophagi vary in size, but the largest ones measure over 6.5 feet in width and 13 feet in length. If the comfort of the Apis bull was such a high priority, why were other Apis bulls found buried in wooden coffins not far from the Serapeum at Saqqara? Furthermore, comfort was rarely a concern in ancient burials. Pharaohs themselves were buried in coffins so small there was barely enough room to fit their bodies. The facts simply don't add up.
One also wonders, why did the Egyptians choose granite for these boxes? Why not use limestone instead? Limestone was a favored material for many other ancient Egyptian projects. The final resting place of the Serapeum boxes is underground, clearly sheltered from the elements. So why not choose limestone? Limestone is not only softer than granite, but it's also more malleable, easier to shape, and relatively lighter, making it easier to transport and manipulate at this scale. There's also an abundant supply of limestone nearby in the Saqqara quarries. Using limestone would have significantly reduced labor across the entire supply chain.
The granite used for the Serapeum sarcophagi had to be transported from hundreds of miles away. So again, why granite?
One explanation, offered by experts, provides some intriguing answers. According to Russian researcher Konstantin Borisov-Kosmina, granite is the material of choice when an airtight container is required. Borisov published research on Egyptian megaliths, including the Great Pyramids, and presented an interesting theory. Because granite is non-porous, once sealed with its lid, the sarcophagus becomes airtight. Granite is also unique in that it contains a high concentration of quartz crystals. This means that when subjected to mechanical pressure, it can generate an electric charge. These finely engineered boxes, long mistaken for sacred bull tombs, may have actually been giant batteries.
Borisov explained that under extreme pressure, the boxes could generate a voltage high enough to ionize the surrounding air, potentially causing them to glow. The lack of soot or burn marks on the tunnel walls supports the idea that open-flame torches were not used underground. This might explain why the ancient civilization went through the massive effort of transporting granite all the way to Saqqara. They needed a non-porous material to contain gases at incredibly high pressure. With lids weighing nearly 30 tons, each box may have been used as a pressure chamber for conducting advanced scientific processes.
Moreover, a 19th century schematic drawing of the boxes also supports Borisov's theory. The diagram shows piles of stones placed atop the lids, suggesting that whoever built or used these granite boxes was trying to amplify the pressure on the lids and seal whatever was inside. If these boxes were merely coffins, why would they need such added weight on top? It's not as if the mummified bulls could escape. So what kind of process were the original creators of the boxes trying to perform? Why was it necessary to cap a 30-ton lid with even more weight?
Mainstream Egyptologists present us with a vision of hundreds of ancient craftsmen working in narrow underground tunnels, dragging a massive block of granite through winding corridors and aligning it perfectly in its final resting place. This operation was repeated 23 times. The motivation and design required to complete such a project suggest a deeper purpose than simply creating burial vaults for bulls. So, if you combine Borisov's findings with research from engineers like Christopher Dunn, the idea of the Serapeum boxes functioning as giant batteries starts to make more sense. Dunn conducted extensive advanced research suggesting that the Great Pyramids of Giza were machines for harvesting energy. The pyramids were not just flashy monuments, they were meant to generate power for ancient Egyptian civilization. This possibility prompts us to consider whether Graham Hancock's controversial theory about prehistoric architects is more logical than mainstream archaeological views. Hancock's ideas suggest the existence of a technologically advanced civilization that was lost in prehistory, likely wiped out by a catastrophic event. He cites religious and cultural scriptures from around the world that repeatedly reference a great flood.
What if this flood wiped out a civilization that had achieved astonishing technological advancements, leaving behind only the Egyptians, who worked with copper tools and chisels? What if humanity once reached technological greatness in a long-lost era, only to start over again? Could our understanding of ancient civilizations and their colossal structures be obscured by a greater, unimaginable truth? What if humanity has been here before, equipped with machines and technology? And when the media hints at a technologically advanced, lost civilization that was wiped out at some point in history, what if it's not just speculation?
Theories that may seem far-fetched have somehow become mainstream, like the idea that a simple chisel scraped against hard granite could create intricate geometric shapes and perfectly sealed stone containers. But how did such theories become more credible? Archaeologists have failed to provide answers to these contradictions and mysteries, and modern historians continue to tear apart the traditional narratives that are supposedly based on logic and reason. That's why the alternative idea has gained more popularity among the general public. The civilization of Abiyan didn't actually build these granite boxes, they simply inherited them just as we did.
What if even they didn't understand the true purpose of these massive chambers, and decided to place their mummified bulls inside the perfectly engineered Serapeum boxes? The crude carvings on the surfaces of some of these boxes seem to support this theory. The construction of the boxes demonstrates a level of advanced skill and capability that far surpasses the crude hieroglyphics etched onto them. It's hard to believe that the expert builders of these granite boxes and the amateur engravers who carved random symbols on the surface belonged to the same civilization. Yet archaeologists want us to believe that the same society capable of executing such mathematical precision in shaping solid granite lacked the finesse to produce accurate inscriptions, and that what we see are, at best, amateur scratches.
Moreover, only a few of the boxes have these carvings, while others remain completely smooth, with mirror-like surfaces. Dating the boxes based solely on the crude hieroglyphs is a flawed strategy. These boxes likely served a purpose far greater than just burying sacred bulls. The idea of complex energy manipulation or some other scientific process that our civilization has yet to discover seems like a more logical explanation.
Mainstream archaeologists continue to mock Graham Hancock and his theory of a lost ancient civilization. Of course, no machinery or technological tools have been found inside these ancient structures, according to archaeologists. They claim that Egyptian stoneworkers achieved their results through extraordinary dedication, patience, and craftsmanship passed down over generations. But human physical ability is not infinite. It has limits we clearly understand today. And despite the insistence on copper tools, several discoveries throughout Egypt have seriously challenged the idea that only primitive tools were used to create such stunning stonework. Many other archaeological sites also contain granite boxes carved with absolute precision, not just rough stonework. Speculation about diamond-tipped drills and advanced heavy machinery behind the construction of the Serapeum box and other ancient stone structures is common.
But is there any evidence? Let's consider one example, a similar granite box discovered in a different location in Egypt, now housed in the Cairo Museum. It has a single irregular cut across it. At first glance, it may appear to be an abandoned project due to a mistake, but look closer at the angle and depth of the cut. It offers nearly undeniable evidence of a shocking truth about its creators. Such a cut could only have been made by something slicing through the stone at incredibly high speed. How could a chisel carve that deeply into hard granite without the force of a hammer that would likely shatter the stone completely?
Now look at the saw marks on other granite boxes inside the Cairo Museum. They resemble the marks left by modern cutting tools, possibly even more efficient than what we use today. Are these marks proof of mechanical cutting technology, similar to modern granite cutting machines equipped with high-quality, diamond-studded blades? While the idea of ancient civilizations possessing such technology may seem absurd, one must ask, is the alternative theory of slow carving with copper and iron tools really more reasonable?
How do mainstream archaeologists explain the perfectly circular holes found in many granite artifacts discovered in Egypt? The consistent shape and depth of these holes within solid granite suggest the use of a high-tech drill with a diamond tip. Another example is a cylindrical granite artifact found near the Great Pyramid. It features a continuous spiral groove, almost identical to the grooves we see on vinyl records. How did the ancient Egyptians create this spiral without high-speed rotation?
The idea that the Egyptian civilization discovered and reused the Serapeum boxes seems far more convincing, especially when paired with the amateur engravings on architecturally perfect boxes.
The answer may lie in a missing piece of the puzzle, a forgotten technology, lost to the Great Flood or some other catastrophe, just waiting to be rediscovered. A technology that could explain not only the original purpose but also the extraordinary craftsmanship behind these creations.